They called her just a weather officer and laughed when she questioned the B-52 Stratofortress mission timing. The veteran bomber crew at Barksdale Air Force Base thought some meteorologist couldn't understand strategic bombing over North Korea until enemy surface-to-air missiles started tracking their exact flight path, and suddenly, everyone realized the weather girl had been planning nuclear strike missions longer than they'd been flying bombers. The Louisiana humidity hung thick around Barksdale Air Force Base as Major Jennifer Walsh walked across the tarmac toward the most powerful strategic bomber in American history. The B-52 Stratofortress sat like a metal cathedral on the flight line, its 8 engines and 185-foot wingspan representing 6 decades of American strategic nuclear deterrence. To the bomber crew preparing for their next long-range mission, she was just another support officer, someone who provided weather forecasts while they carried the responsibility of delivering America's most devastating weapons. At 35 years old, with graying brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun and the serious demeanor of someone who'd spent years dealing with classified information, Jennifer looked exactly like what she was supposed to be, a meteorological officer who analyzed weather patterns while others flew the dangerous missions. She wore standard support branch insignia with minimal decorations, her understated appearance designed to maintain the cover that kept her real background buried in the deepest levels of national security classification. What the B-52 crew didn't know was that Jennifer had been planning strategic nuclear missions for the past 12 years, serving as a weapons systems officer and mission commander on some of the most sensitive bomber operations in Air Force history. Her classified logbook contained over 1,800 hours of strategic bomber flight time, including 156 simulated nuclear strike missions and 89 actual long-range penetration flights into hostile airspace that tested America's ability to deliver nuclear weapons anywhere in the world. The morning briefing called for a long-range strategic deterrence mission over the Sea of Japan, where the B-52 would demonstrate American capability to project power near North Korean airspace. The 8-hour flight would test crew endurance and aircraft systems while sending a clear message to hostile nations about America's strategic reach and nuclear delivery capabilities. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Chen led the 6-man crew, a veteran bomber pilot with over 200 hours in the Stratofortress who'd flown missions throughout the Pacific theater during escalating tensions with China and North Korea. His crew were all experienced professionals who understood the deadly seriousness of strategic nuclear operations, where every mission carried the theoretical possibility of triggering global warfare. But the mission was facing complications that threatened to compromise both operational security and crew safety. Intelligence reports indicated increased North Korean surface-to-air missile activity along the planned route, and weather patterns were developing that could affect navigation and targeting systems during the critical phases of the demonstration flight. "We need updated meteorological analysis for this mission," Chen told the squadron operations officer. "Weather conditions could affect our penetration profile and electronic warfare effectiveness." Jennifer, who'd been monitoring the discussion while reviewing classified intelligence reports, stepped forward. "Colonel, I have concerns about the current flight plan based on both weather patterns and threat analysis." Chen glanced at her with the casual dismissal she'd encountered throughout her career. "Major, we appreciate the weather forecast, but strategic bombing missions require understanding operational factors beyond meteorology." Jennifer pulled out her analysis, showing complex correlations between weather patterns, enemy radar effectiveness, and surface-to-air missile performance that went far beyond basic meteorological forecasting. "Sir, the atmospheric conditions will enhance enemy radar detection capabilities while reducing the effectiveness of our electronic countermeasures. This creates significant tactical disadvantages." The operations officer verified her analysis with obvious confusion. "Major Walsh, this level of tactical assessment is unusual for weather personnel. How do you know about enemy radar and electronic warfare interactions?" Jennifer maintained her cover story while providing information that could save American lives. "Sir, modern meteorological analysis requires understanding how atmospheric conditions affect all aspects of flight operations, including electronic systems and enemy capabilities." Chen reluctantly agreed to review her recommendations, primarily because strategic missions required absolute precision in all planning factors. "Fine, but stick to weather analysis. We'll handle the tactical planning." 6 hours later, the B-52 launched from Barksdale and began its transcontinental flight toward the Pacific theater. The massive bomber climbed steadily to its cruising altitude of 40,000 feet, where it would spend the next 8 hours demonstrating American strategic nuclear capability to allies and enemies throughout the region. Jennifer settled into the familiar rhythm of strategic mission operations, monitoring weather systems and atmospheric conditions that could affect the bomber's performance and survivability. Her official role required her to provide meteorological updates, but her classified background allowed her to recognize tactical patterns that other weather officers would miss. "Ghostwriter, this is Barksdale Control," came the voice from their home base. "Be advised, intelligence reports indicate increased North Korean air defense activity in your operational area. Maintain heightened awareness for surface-to-air missile threats." Chen acknowledged the warning while studying his defensive systems displays, which showed normal electronic signatures throughout the region. The B-52's electronic warfare suite was sophisticated, but it had limitations against modern integrated air defense systems that combined multiple radar types with advanced missile guidance technologies. Jennifer immediately recognized the tactical implications of the intelligence update. Years of planning nuclear strike missions had taught her to read enemy air defense patterns, understanding how hostile forces coordinated their systems to track and engage American strategic bombers. "Ghostwriter, recommend immediate altitude and course adjustment based on atmospheric propagation analysis. Current conditions are enhancing enemy radar effectiveness beyond normal parameters." Chen checked his navigation systems, seeing nothing unusual in the bomber's flight profile. "Weather, we're following the planned route. Atmospheric conditions don't significantly affect our mission profile." But Jennifer had already identified specific weather patterns that would allow North Korean radar systems to track the B-52 at ranges far exceeding their normal capabilities. Her understanding of both meteorological science and enemy tactics told her that the bomber was becoming vulnerable to surface-to-air missile attack. "Ghostwriter, atmospheric ducting conditions are creating enhanced radar propagation. Enemy systems can track us at twice their normal detection range. Recommend immediate course deviation." "Weather, maintain your assigned monitoring duties. We'll handle tactical decisions." 20 minutes later, the B-52's radar warning receivers suddenly activated as North Korean surface-to-air missile systems achieved tracking locks from distances that should have been impossible. The enemy had used atmospheric conditions to extend their radar coverage, positioning missiles for intercept attempts against the American strategic bomber. "Ghostwriter, we're being painted by multiple SAM sites. How are they tracking us at this range?" Jennifer was already coordinating course corrections that used atmospheric conditions to break enemy radar locks while maintaining the mission's strategic objectives. "Ghostwriter, execute immediate descent to 35,000 feet and vector 275 degrees. Atmospheric conditions at that altitude will disrupt enemy tracking." The defensive maneuvering that followed demonstrated the deadly complexity of modern strategic bomber operations, where atmospheric science, electronic warfare, and enemy tactics combined to create life-and-death situations for bomber crews. Jennifer's guidance proved essential for maintaining the B-52's survivability while accomplishing the mission. "Weather, how did you know exactly what altitude and heading would break their radar locks?" Chen asked as the bomber successfully evaded multiple missile threats. Jennifer continued her atmospheric analysis while providing tactical guidance that went far beyond weather forecasting. "Colonel, meteorological conditions affect all electromagnetic propagation, including radar and electronic warfare systems. Understanding these interactions is critical for mission success." The mission continued for 6 more hours, with Jennifer providing atmospheric and tactical guidance that allowed the B-52 to complete its strategic demonstration while avoiding multiple North Korean intercept attempts. Her understanding of both weather science and strategic bombing operations proved invaluable for crew survival and mission accomplishment. After landing at Barksdale, Chen approached Jennifer with questions that had been building throughout the 12-hour mission. "Major, where did you learn to coordinate strategic bomber tactics with atmospheric analysis? That wasn't standard meteorological support." Jennifer secured her classified materials and gathered her equipment before answering. "Colonel, modern strategic missions require understanding all factors that affect bomber survivability and mission effectiveness. Weather is just one component of a complex tactical picture. But you understood enemy radar capabilities and electronic warfare interactions. That level of knowledge doesn't come from weather training." For the first time, Jennifer's meteorological officer cover began to show cracks. "Sir, strategic bomber operations require personnel who understand multiple aspects of mission planning and execution. Some assignments require broader capabilities than standard job descriptions indicate." Chen realized he was discovering something that had been hidden from most of the squadron. "You're not just a weather officer, are you?" "Colonel, some operations require people who can fulfill multiple roles when circumstances demand specialized knowledge. What matters is that the mission succeeded and the crew returned safely." The mission debrief revealed that Jennifer had provided tactical guidance that prevented multiple surface-to-air missile engagements while maintaining the strategic demonstration's effectiveness. Her atmospheric analysis had been perfectly coordinated with enemy threat assessment and bomber survivability requirement. Word of the operation spread quietly through the strategic bomber community at Barksdale. The story of the weather officer who'd saved a B-52 crew using impossible tactical knowledge became classified study material for strategic nuclear operations. The next week, Chen specifically requested Jennifer for all high-risk strategic missions. Her unique combination of atmospheric science and strategic bombing expertise proved invaluable for operations where bomber survivability depended on understanding complex interactions between weather, enemy capabilities, and nuclear weapons delivery requirements. But Jennifer never revealed the full scope of her strategic planning background. She understood that nuclear mission planning remained among the most classified operations in the military, and that her meteorological cover provided the perfect explanation for knowledge that actually came from years of planning America's most sensitive strategic operations. During briefings for new B-52 crews deploying to Pacific operations, she would often remind them that strategic bombing required understanding all environmental factors that could affect mission success. "The B-52 can deliver nuclear weapons anywhere in the world," she would tell them, "but only if the crew understands how atmospheric conditions, enemy capabilities, and strategic timing interact to create mission success or failure." Months later, when tensions with North Korea escalated toward potential nuclear conflict, American strategic bomber operations relied heavily on atmospheric and tactical analysis techniques that Jennifer had developed during her classified nuclear planning career. Her understanding of both weather science and enemy air defense capabilities proved critical for maintaining America's nuclear deterrence credibility. Years later, B-52 crews throughout the strategic bomber force would credit Jennifer with revolutionizing their understanding of environmental factors in nuclear operations. They learned that strategic bombing success required expertise that combined multiple military specializations, and that the most critical knowledge often belonged to people whose full capabilities couldn't be officially acknowledged. The B-52 Stratofortress continued to serve as America's primary strategic nuclear delivery platform, flown by crews who understood that their mission success depended on supporting personnel whose expertise transcended traditional military role boundaries. Jennifer's contributions to strategic nuclear operations remained deeply classified, but her influence on bomber tactics ensured that hundreds of air crews benefited from lessons learned during thousands of hours planning America's most sensitive military operations. She had chosen national security over recognition, understanding that the most important missions were often planned by people whose expertise had to remain invisible to enemies and allies alike.